I have been so obsessed with drinking like homemade, like Starbucks coffees. Oh my God, they are so freaking good. And there's like barely any calories in it. So, like, if you're watching your weight, dude, go this route. It's so good. All it is the cold Starbucks coffee that you get at the grocery store. It's the blonde unsweetened roast. And then it's unsweetened almond milk, and then sugar-free syrups. I have vanilla, salted caramel, and a little bit of pumpkin cupcake in here. It is so freaking good, topped with like a little bit of whipped cream with some cinnamon on top. Ooh, it is bomb. It is so freaking good. Hey guys, welcome back to another haunted story. I don't know why my cheeks are so red right now, but they are like on fire right now. If this is your first time on my channel, every Monday and Friday I sit down and I talk about a haunted, ghost, creepy, spooky, out of the ordinary type of story, and I get glam at the same time. So if you're into the creepy stuff, like I am, then hit that subscribe button down below and join the spooky fam. This is what I'm calling you guys. I might have to make some new merch for that, actually. Ugh, why are my cheeks so red? Ugh, I don't know. Anyways. So today's story is more of a murder type of story. It's still really creepy and like messed up. The story was actually sent to me, so I thought I would deliver all the goods. The stories that were sent to me that were more mini stories, I'm still working on those. Those are coming. I'm just looking for more other stories to like throw in for like a whole mini Monday creepy story type thing, you know? So I'll sit down and I'll talk about a couple of different stories at the same time. But today's story is about the Blood Countess. And the Blood Countess is a woman by the name of Elizabeth Bathory. I think that's how I'm saying it right. There's a lot of really hard to pronounce names in this story, so I'm going to try my best. Don't make fun of me. But this woman was actually deemed as the most prolific female murderer of all time. Like, legit, she's in the Guinness Book of World Records for her shit that she pulled. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it and start from the beginning. All right, so Elizabeth Bathory, she was born August 7th, 1560 or 1561. Nobody really knows for sure like the exact date on that. But either way, it's only like a year apart, so I don't think it really matters that much, you know? Well, she was born in Hungary. I think it's Hungary, so I'm just going to say it that way. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below because I feel silly. Well, she was born into a noble family of Hungary. Her father was the Baron George Bathory, and her mother was Baroness Anna Bathory. And Anna, her mother, she was a high-ranking official in Transylvania. Not really sure what that means, but it is what it is. Her brother was a judge royal in Hungary as well. And her uncle Stephen, he was the king of Poland. So like, she's pretty well off, you know, she's out there. Everyone knows her name. Everyone knows this family. Very popular, very high ranking. She was raised a Calvinist Protestant, and she just had a lot of privilege handed to her. She was able to learn a couple of different languages. She was able to learn Latin, German, Greek, Hungarian, and she was even able to get herself a really good education that most people in the 1500s were not able to get because, I mean, they were poor, but since she wasn't poor, she just had a lot of privilege growing up, a lot of wealth. She didn't always have like an easy go at life. When she was a child, she actually suffered really, really bad from seizures. And doctors in that time pretty much just chalked it up to her being an epileptic. Well, they think her epilepsy was caused by her family because Elizabeth was the product of incest. So her family believed in the whole like keeping it in the family type of thing. They basically wanted to protect their bloodline. So they would marry each other and produce kids with each other. So that way no other bloodline could come into this family. Freaking weird. Ugh. Gross. Well, the doctors believe that that's why she had epilepsy, which is not true. I don't even know why they would think that, but it is the 1500s. Doctors would treat Elizabeth in a way that is very unconventional, okay? They believed that if a person was ill and had disease or whatever may have you, that they could be cured by basically drinking the blood of somebody that wasn't infected or diseased or sick. So they would take the blood of somebody that wasn't sick and rub it on Elizabeth's lips so that way she could ingest it. And they believed that this would cure her illness. Okay. Well, not only that, but they would also take a piece of skull. They would take a tiny little piece of skull from a person that was dead, obviously, and they would crush it up and mix it with the blood, and they would make a paste out of it. And when Elizabeth would have her episodes or after she would have a seizure, they would make her ingest it because they thought that that was a cure, that it was curing her. Well, obviously not if she's still having these freaking seizures. I was wondering when I was reading this story, I was like, do they just dig up people's dead bodies, or do they just have like people, like dead people on standby to she needs some skull. People believe that because these treatments were being done on her at such a young age that it just really impacted her adult life. They pretty much thought that the way she was and why she was killing people is because of what she was taught when she was younger, that people's blood that isn't sick and their skulls is what's going to keep her healthy. So they think that this is why she went on her little killing spree. I don't know if I believe that. That's a little far-fetched. I think she was just whacked out of her freaking mind. Other people believe that she was trained to be this way, that she saw her family and the officers of her family be extremely cruel to people while punishing them. So they believe that she just picked it up from them, that she was trained to kill people for crossing her pretty much. Her family would punish people that were accused of doing like witchcraft and that were Satanists and stuff like that. Her family would punish these people and they would punish them very harshly. And Elizabeth saw this. So that's why people think that she just kind of grew up with it. It's what she saw, you know, monkey see, monkey do. Fast forward a little bit. Elizabeth was engaged when she was just 10 years old. Now, just keep in mind, I know that that's not what we would do these days, but keep in mind that back then, this was a total normal thing. It was just what they did. She was engaged to a boy named Ferenc Nadasti. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like I said, this story has some weird last names. Well, not weird. They're just hard to pronounce. But she was engaged to this boy, and it was for sure a arranged marriage. It was a political type of arrangement. This boy's family was part of like the allies with her parents. They wanted them to marry each other to keep the circle of aristocracy. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Aristocracy? I don't know. Basically, they just wanted them all to be together so no outsiders could come in and try and change things or try and take over. They trusted these people is what I'm saying. Gosh, get it out. Just a little weird fun fact, Elizabeth was higher ranking than her future husband, and when they got married, he actually took her last name instead of her taking his last name. Just thought that was like a little fun fact to know. They were married when she was 15 and he was 19 years old at a really nice palace, and it said that there was 4,500 guests at this place. What the hell? I don't even know that many people. 4,500 people? My gosh. But before they even got married, Miss Elizabeth over here was naughty. When she was 13 years old, so keep in mind they got engaged when she was 10. They got married when she was 15. So at 13 years old, she gave birth to a child. And this child was not Ferenc's. It was a peasant boy's child. Oh my gosh. Well, this just couldn't happen, right? Because he's a freaking peasant. So her family actually ended up paying this woman that they really trusted. She was well known, very, very trusted with this family. and they ended up paying her to take the baby away. She took the baby to like a whole new village, a whole new town. Child was never seen again. And the dude still married her. Like, what? I don't think so. Well, his wedding gift to her actually was his freaking castle. I don't know if he like signed it over to her. Well, I mean, I don't think that was a thing back then, but I don't know if he just straight up gave her the castle and had no ties to it anymore or what. But either way, it was said that she was gifted his castle as a wedding gift. So they seemed happy, you know, they popped out a few kids, lived their life. Everything seemed pretty good. Well, in 1578, her husband, Ferenc, actually became the commander-in-chief of the Hungarian troops, and he would actually lead them to war with the Ottomans. So he pretty much disappeared. I mean, he didn't disappear. He went to war, and Elizabeth was basically at home by herself, dealing with like all of the political stuff, doing what she has to do for the people. It's said that she even provided them with medical care. So she basically was just handling like all of that type of work and stuff. Well, not only was she doing all this stuff, but she was also doing other things while her husband was away. This is when Elizabeth would go on her little killing spree. Elizabeth really liked the younger girls, like 10 to 14-year-old age range. Those are the girls that she mostly targeted. And they were mostly peasants. Because back then, if a peasant went missing, it was like, oh well, who cares? It's a peasant. You know, we're not going to search high and low for a girl that we don't care about. She would lure them into the castle by telling them that they would get work there. So she was providing hope for them that they would get work, and little did they know she was out to murder them. People would send their kids to the castle because Elizabeth claimed that she could provide them with education. So they would send them to the castle in hopes that their children would learn some things. Well, they didn't learn anything because they were getting freaking killed. So Elizabeth actually kind of started getting bored with the peasant girls because they were like, it was too easy. You know, she wanted more of a challenge. So this is when she would start to lure the girls in that were from higher ranked families, people that she knew. And once these, you know, high class girls didn't come back home, this is when everyone starts to freak out and is wondering what the hell happened. Oh, so now everyone cares because it's a higher up girl. She's more important. Well, families started to kind of notice like, hey, the last place I sent my child was to Elizabeth's house, and she hasn't returned. And other people would be like, I sent her to Elizabeth's house too, and that's the last time I saw her. So people were starting to catch on. Well, then they started making complaints. And eventually the Hungarian king would send his best high-ranked investigator to the castle to investigate and see what's going on over there. Well, the investigator collected evidence of 300 witnesses, and these witnesses would attest to what Elizabeth was doing. So you have to keep in mind that because she lived in a huge castle and she was very wealthy and somewhat royal, she had a lot of servants, a lot of maids, everything that comes with castle when you're royalty, okay? She had all of this. So when the investigator went to question people, I mean, there was just tons of reports against her. It was reported that Elizabeth would burn her victims with a hot iron. She would also beat them with clubs. She would stick needles under their fingernails. That is freaking so cringy. Oh my God. Could you imagine? Ugh. She would pour ice water over their bodies and stick them outside for them to freeze to death, okay? This woman was a complete psycho. But not only that, it does not end there. It was also said that she would cover her victim's body in honey and leave them out for the ants and the bugs to come and basically eat them alive. Witnesses also said that she would like to use scissors as a form of torture. So this woman, she would cut off the hands, noses, and genital areas of her victims. She would just snip them right off. And her favorite form of torture with scissors was to cut the skin between their fingers. That little area, she would cut that with freaking scissors. No, ma'am. I don't think so. She would sew their lips together. Ugh. And she would bite chunks out of their flesh. Just bite it right off. One victim actually had a chunk bitten out of her titty. Like, this woman's obviously like sick and twisted, okay? It's not just something she grew up with. No. She's just a freaking weirdo. Biting my titty, are you kidding me? Oh, cut your ass up. Elizabeth was actually accused of being a vampire at one point. And this is like kind of how she got the name Blood Countess. But another reason she got that name is because it said that she would bathe in the blood of her victims. She is on a whole new level of nasty. And it said that she did this because she wanted to keep her youth. So she would drain the young girls and she would bathe in their blood because she believed that it held like the secret to youth. So she would just sit there and bathe in it. Ugh. That's how she got her nickname, Blood Countess. Little nasty freak. Ugh. It really sounds like she's kind of like Lala Ree. If you watched that video of mine, kind of sounds like her. So finally, this woman was charged with the murder of 80 girls. But what's weird is that one of the witnesses that used to live in her house, probably one of her servants, she claimed that she found a book of Elizabeth's, like a diary, and Elizabeth would write down the names of her victims in it. And she said there was 650 names total. 650. That seems like a lot of people. And like nobody noticed they went missing. But this book was said to never be recovered. So nobody really knows if this is 100% true or not. It's kind of just like hearsay, word of mouth type of thing. But I mean, 650 people, that's a lot of people to kill. Like, first off, where did she have the time? Where did she put them all? And how did nobody notice that this many people are missing from their neighborhood? You know, like really nobody noticed? Like nobody walked out of their front yard and was like, you know what, honey, I haven't seen Jerry in a while. I wonder where he's been. So, I mean, that's kind of a little hard to believe that she killed 650 people. But at the same time, it could be true. Okay, so December 30th, 1610, Elizabeth and 4 of her servants were arrested. The servants were said to be accomplices of hers and, you know, pretty much like, what do they call that? Like a party to the crime. What is that called? You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, for Elizabeth, this shady bitch, since she was part of like a royal family and had a lot going for her basically, so her son and her son-in-law were bargaining with the investigator of what her punishment should be. If she were sent to trial and execution, there would be like a huge public scandal. Okay, and they didn't want that because Elizabeth and the family had like a well-known name around here. You know, they were a well-respected family. So no, she cannot go to trial. She cannot be executed. People cannot find out about this. Absolutely not. If she were sent to trial and executed, the family would be disgraced and all of her possessions and everything that she did and that she had would be seized by the royal family pretty much. They would just take it from her. So they decided to not go publicly with this. So instead, get this, they decide that her punishment is for her to be locked in her own castle for the rest of her life. She would be pretty much on house arrest and she would have guards and everything like that to keep her from not going out of the castle. But I mean, that was her punishment. She just gets to live inside the rest of her life. That doesn't sound like a punishment to me. That sounds like a freaking vacation. So she gets no further punishment, okay? Locked in her castle is punishment enough. Oh, hang on. Can never do this. Oh, these earrings give me so much life. Thank you, Marie. Okay, back to the story. So, no further punishment for Elizabeth was ever done. Okay, she got to spend the rest of her life in her castle, and that was pretty much it. Well, As for the 4 servants that were arrested alongside with her, they actually ended up pleading guilty to helping her, but they claimed that if they didn't help her, that they would be the ones that were being tortured. So basically, Elizabeth was forcing them into helping her do her little deeds that she was doing. And they didn't want to die. They didn't want to be tortured like these other girls were. But in the end, it didn't matter because the servants were instantly taken to execution, okay? They died anyways. It didn't freaking matter. So they could have not helped her and died sooner, or helped her and died later. Either way, they were gonna die. So Elizabeth actually ended up dying when she was 54 years old in her castle. But before she died, she actually ended up writing a will, and that basically was just her giving all of her personal belongings to her kids and stuff like that. But she also wrote, and I don't know if this was in her like will, which I don't think it was, because that's kind of like a weird thing to put in your will, or if it was in like her little personal diary or something like that. But on August 20th, 1614, Elizabeth had complained to her bodyguard that her hands were cold. And all the bodyguard said was, "It's nothing, mistress. Just go lie down." So she went to sleep, and the next morning, that's when she was found dead. So, I mean, was there like a plot to secretly kill her in her sleep? Was she poisoned? What happened? Nobody really knows. So she was buried in the church of the town that she was living in, but the locals and the villagers were outraged by this. They did not want her anywhere in their community at all because, I mean, word got out. Hello, you can't keep that a secret. So everyone knew what she did. Well, the villagers were outraged. They did not want her anywhere near them whatsoever. So her body was actually taken back to where she grew up, and her body was placed in a family crypt. Well, there's no markings anywhere of where she is, so technically nobody knows where her body is at all. So maybe somebody like body snatched her when they dug her grave up because the villagers were pissed. Maybe somebody like body snatched her and freaking tortured the hell out of her. Which, you know what? I kind of hope that happened because she deserved it. I don't know. Is that too mean to say? I don't think it is. I think it's the truth. So there's a couple theories around this case. I mean, they're just theories. But one of them is that this whole thing was a political stunt. That it was just all a conspiracy. And she was basically like framed so that way someone else could take her place. I don't know. That seems really far-fetched to me. It really does. Especially with all these witnesses and everything like that. Like, I don't know. That one seems really far-fetched. And then the other theory is that, so all the bodies that were found, because she did bury bodies in her backyard, but all the bodies that were found were said to be patients of somebody else. Like patients of a doctor, okay? And he just so happened to bury his patients' bodies in Elizabeth's backyard. I don't freaking think so. There's no way. No. They said that the bodies looked like they were already sick and they were already wounded and everything. Well, no shit. She was torturing them. What are they supposed to look like? Fresh daisies popping out of the ground? Those theories, none of them make sense to me, but I just wanted to put them out there for you so you could, I don't know, play off of them. So anyways, that is the story of Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess. It's a little bit of a different one. It was a little bit more gory than most stories that I've done. It was, ugh. I thought it was a cool story. I thought it was interesting. I think this lady deserves to fry in hell. But let me know what you guys think down below about this story. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it interesting? Let me know. As always, if you like me and you like my channel, then don't forget to like and subscribe and join the family. Follow me on my socials. Those will be linked down below. And if you have any stories that you want me to do, you could DM me. I will do my research and do the best that I can. So that is all I have for you guys. I have nothing else to say except I love you, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.